All right, guys. So there's something that's on my mind. Something that something that I think about when I watch all these different videos about the financial collapse and all the different problems our country is having. So when I watch these financial crash videos, I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, this stuff reminds me that we're all living under a system run by filthy rich people. Okay. I want to say it's designed by filthy rich people for filthy rich people. And it's not that there's anything wrong with being rich, but I think it's safe to say that certain people, certain groups of people have gone to the far extreme of robbing the rest of us with far too much greed and far too much power. That's just my opinion. But personally, I believe that one of the biggest mistakes that ever happened for America, one of the biggest mistakes, at least for we the people, is giving control of our monetary system or the management of our money over to a private corporation that we call the Federal Reserve. And it's about as federal as McDonald's, right? So, okay. So if you look at what's gone on in the past, for example, they have said whenever they've tried to audit the Fed has flat out said, we're not gonna. Nope, we don't owe you an explanation. We're a private company. We're a private corporation. We don't owe you any explanations. We don't have to submit to an audit. Okay. Well, I have a question about that. Isn't every other private corporation, if they're doing something or suspected of doing something financially wrong, aren't they vulnerable to being audited by the IRS? So if every other corporation is vulnerable to being, you can be edited or edited. I got too much video stuff on my mind. If any other corporation can be subject to being audited by the IRS, and then on top of it, having to pay for that audit, and they're a private corporation, shouldn't the Federal Reserve be subject to the same thing? I don't know, guys. Maybe it's just me. Just I keep thinking about how they say, we don't owe the American people. They've said this in the past. I don't know if they've said it recently, but they've said this in the past that, we don't owe the American people any explanations. We don't have to explain anything. Think about where all of the money has gone, and I believe it's in the trillions now, if I'm not mistaken. There is something that's called like a black hole budget, a black budget. Sorry, it's called a black budget. I call it the black hole budget because the money just goes into there and disappears and never comes back, right? So it kind of seems like to me that the Federal Reserve just kind of gets to do whatever the hell they want, right? So whoever owns the Federal Reserve, individuals, families, whoever it is, these people are getting filthy rich. These people have wealth and power that most of us can't even wrap our heads around. Whoever the owner is, maybe it's multiple people, but it is a private corporation. So if it's a private corporation, maybe there's stockholders. Are there stockholders of the Federal Reserve? I don't know. Is it a certain group of families? Like I said, I don't know. I don't think anybody really knows except for maybe a very few select group of people. And the problem is that they dole out our money to whoever they want. It's still going on. Billions of dollars to whatever countries for whatever reasons. What is it? The NGOs and non-government organizations and so on and so on. By the way, I don't think we should have stopped doing Doge. So, I think I'm positive that if it ever came to light as to exactly where all that money has actually gone, that people would be livid. They would be livid. And I mean livid. But the problem is, and I think you guys would agree with this, the problem is the American people have no teeth. We have no teeth. You might say, well, what do you mean? What do you mean we have no teeth? What do you mean, Todd? The government and the corporations can do whatever they want. There's no real serious repercussions for them, right? We can't do that, but the corporations, government, the bankers, they can do whatever they want, no consequences. However, the American people, we have no way of enforcing our constitutional rights. We have no ability to enforce the security of legitimate elections. We have no power. All of our power has been handed to other groups, other individuals, and organizations. We gave control of the money supply and the management of it over to a private corporation. And now they've just completely gone tyrannical. It's a monster that they've created, and they can't control it any longer. They do whatever they want. I mean, look at what's happening with all the markets, and it's all games. Like it's games that they have invented for themselves to benefit themselves. Paper game. I call it paper games, paper money, paper contracts. They took the money off. Now remember this: they took the money off the gold standard, so they could just print it into oblivion, creating all kinds of wealth for certain people, certain organizations, certain countries, and so on. But here's the thing, if you just print, isn't that you're devaluing our currency? So isn't that stealing? I mean, isn't that stealing or robbing from we the people? We're not allowed to steal from them. We're not allowed to rob from them, but they can steal from us. Isn't stealing a crime? I thought it was. They've robbed us for decades and decades. I thought you'd go to jail for that. But I think you would agree that all of this stuff has been invented by wealthy people for wealthy people. And playing games with all these numbers and artificial currency, I'm certain it was invented for the rich by the rich. You know, we're kind of like, we're just the sand holding up the sandbar, right? I mean, that's a silly example, but we're the cattle that are being farmed. We're the tax cattle. We're the whatever type of cattle you want to call it. We're a lot of different types of cattle as far as they're concerned. So recently there was this research done about all of the major industrial countries and their food supplies. Now, are you guys ready for this? Guess which country had the worst food supply out of all the major industrialized countries? Shall I play some Jeopardy music? I was going to try to do it, but I give you one guess. You ready? The worst, most toxic food supply is, drum roll please, the United States of America. And then, yeah, that's right. And then they have us trapped, right? Because here's the thing. The toxic food supply causes symptoms, and then they have you running to the pharmaceutical companies to solve or try to address those symptoms. So now you could go down a whole nother rabbit hole with all that. Let's say, for example, those corporations, let's say the corporations that make the sprays to put on our food, right? They're making deals with the politicians. And I'm like, okay, well, so the politicians are like, well, okay, if you pay us such and such amount or give us some kind of backdoor deal, then we'll make sure that this legislation or these policies or this bill gets put through so you can use your sprays or whatever it is you want to use on the food or in the food. I wonder why there's so many types of cancers now and autism and Alzheimer's. And you could go down that whole list, right? But the bottom line is these corporations, in my opinion, I think it's pretty blatant that these corporations are making deals with the politicians. And so, I mean, they always get rich somehow, right? They always get rich somehow. So these corporations are making deals. And here's the thing, guys. We have a system where we're all being poisoned by the corporate food system. This is one of my more stressful videos to make because I don't even like thinking about this kind of stuff, but it's a reality. Or we're living in it, right? So we're living in a system that is full of control because it's all a con to troll your life. I mean, it's true, right? I mean, prove me wrong. It's kind of like a society where the corporations and the government, the bankers, they get to say, we get to screw you, but you can't screw us back. Because that goes back to what I just said earlier. We, the people, have no teeth. We have no teeth. We have none. We can't enforce our own constitution. We can't enforce our rights as employees or contractors. You know how nowadays a lot of these companies like to hire people as independent contractors so that you can be independently broke? Yeah, exactly. So we can't enforce our rights as parents either, especially fathers. And of course, there's always exceptions. You know, some people have a win, in these types of situations in family court or whatever. But the large majority of us, the American people, for all intents and purposes, have no teeth. Imagine this, guys. Imagine you got this big, giant shark, right? And this shark, he's swimming all around the ocean. And he looks like this big, badass, tough, mighty shark that can do whatever he wants, man. He is the ruler. He is the king of the ocean, right? But check it out. You might think he can do anything because he's big and mighty. But what if he has no teeth? He just gums his prey to death. Like he just scares people with his toothless smile, right? I mean, he's got no real power. He's got no teeth. He won't survive. He will not survive. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the problem with the American people. We will not survive unless something significant is done to change that.